Hello and welcome to the Story Engine podcast. My name is Kyle Gray, and today on the show we have Aleksandar Svetsky. Aleksandar is the founder of the platform SatLantis, which is a new competitor to the Meetup and Eventbrite spaces, which is meant to create monetizable, sustainable, human-centered communities. And we are going to be talking all about why Aleksandar believes that the future is offline and how SatLantis is helping create that future. Without any further ado, let's hand it over to Aleksandar. Aleksandar Svetsky, welcome to the Story Engine podcast.
Kyle, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
You are a fan of many of the things I'm a fan of: travel, connection, events, experiences. But before we get into the real exciting nerdy stuff today, could you tell us a little bit about who you are and how you're showing up in the world today?
Who I am. So I'll do more for context. I've been entrepreneurial most of my life. I went to university, studied civil engineering. I was very academically strong, so I got a bunch of scholarships given to me. I took that money, put it on the stock market, 10x'd it in 4 or 5 months. Thought I was a genius, thought I was going to be the next Warren Buffett. I did my little spreadsheet, thought I was going to be a billionaire by the time I was 30. And anyway, I lost it all, and I levered up so hard that by the time I turned 20, I was $250,000 in debt, and this is 2007. So when $250,000 actually meant something. And that sort of put me on the entrepreneurial journey. To get out of debt, I had to sell stuff. So I did door-to-door sales first, and built my first sales company, then built a renewable energy business. Had my ups and downs. I did hospitality. I had cafes all around Australia, all sorts of different things. But I stumbled into tech and built some software companies, some failures, some successes. And along the way, I also started to write in public. And I probably built most of my personal brand online as a writer. So I wrote for Bitcoin Magazine, for Zero Hedge, for all of these different people. And I published 2 books. So I guess somewhere between writer and a builder. These days, the way I show up is more private. I used to be a bit more in the spotlight, trying to be like the entrepreneur with a personal brand. Now I'm trying to be the invisible entrepreneur behind a good business that writes only long form. So I got off all socials, I got off all of that nonsense, and trying to live in the real world a little bit more. So there's a bit of history and current.
Why are you going on podcasts if you are being behind the scenes?
This is my last round of podcast, buddy.
Really?
My last round. Yes.
Oh, fascinating. Yeah. And so moving forward, it's the long form content, writing, and just expressing yourself through there.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be sort of one-way broadcasting. I may do podcasts where I can discuss ideas more than anything else, because I do enjoy conversations. And I used to have my own podcast. I did like 100 episodes. My goal was to get to 1 million listens. Didn't quite hit it. Got halfway there, but it was I enjoyed that while I was having good conversations. After a while, it became more about the podcast. And then I kind of decided to, it's not for me anymore. So maybe I will, because I like conversations. And same goes for writing long form. I will still publish on Substack, for example, but not for the social clout or the engagement, just because I like writing long form and expressing ideas and thinking through that. So yeah, but as it stands, to build my personal brand is no longer the reason I will do any podcasts ever again.
Mm. I feel you. I miss the process of writing long form. I miss having mornings with an uncrowded calendar where I can sit down with my coffee and engage with my thoughts. And that was how I began my own journey, which was by creating long form content, working for a startup that was just entirely doing that. And it's been about 10 years, and going from blogging and long form writing, book writing, to copywriting, and then speech writing and storytelling, which is all a very fun process. But I like just hearing you talk right now, I deeply miss the spaciousness and quietude, and just process of writing out long form thoughts. And at least like reflecting on my own life right now and how my business has developed, some ways intentionally and some ways not so, like there's so much urgency in the
Mm-hmm.
world,
Yeah,
and
man.
demands on that, and so many like Zoom calls and meetings and things like that. And I actually think this is a really good segue into what we're actually here to talk about, SatLantis, of maybe a re-emergence of some of these slower moving processes and experiences.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said one word there which I resonate with, the quietude. When I was writing my second book, the way I structured my days. So like I was the startup guy. I exited my last business in 2021, and then kind of like took a couple years just out of business, out of working, out of all that sort of stuff, just to write. And my favorite part of the day truly was like get up at 5:30, as you said, like clear calendar, no things to do, no fucking distractions, none of that bullshit, and just like wrestle with ideas, man. Like it just felt so good. And likewise, the way I'm trying to the direction I'm trying to move my business into, I think I got caught up in this whole like, you know, Alex Hormozy, build a personal brand to drive your business and stuff like that, which has its place, right? You know, some people want to do that. I don't know. I just reached the point where I don't care as much anymore, and what I want to do is I want to talk about the ideas behind the business and behind what I'm doing, right? So like to do that now, the business SatLantis, we're trying to build a platform that helps people build community and do run events in the real world. That's it. Like so we want to help people reconnect again, because I'm just writing an essay now, actually a long form on Substack called Real World Maxing, basically. And my sort of theory is that, and it's coming to fruition, is that the internet is becoming more and more noisy, more and more dirty, more and more uncouth. And honestly, in the next like 5, 10 years, I think being online is going to be a signal of like low class or low status, right? Like being offline is sort of the new luxury, and where real social connection is going to happen. And it won't happen for everyone. I think, the internet's kind of being flooded with, um, you know, low IQ slop, both from low IQ people, but also from just AI fucking bots everywhere, right? So it's like the internet is kind of becoming like just noise, right? So people who are opting out of that noise are going to want to use technology in some capacity to enhance living in the real world. And I know this is somewhat trite, and people have sort of been talking about this for ages, and I'm not sort of trying to wave the flag of, oh, down with the social networks and stuff. Whoever wants to do that shit can do that shit. I think the pace has gotten so fast, though, that I still remember back in the day when I had a big Twitter account. Like I could say stuff, and I could get, like it would impact people for a little while. Now you have to do the most outrageous shit for people to notice you for 3 seconds, and then the next outrageous shit comes up, and it's like it's gone. It's like this constant treadmill. So I think the only way to play that sort of game and win is to not play the game and do something else. So anyway, I'm sort of weaving multiple tangents here, but where I'm going with this is I I have a thesis, and my thesis is that the online world is much more noisy and it's going to decrease in quality. And therefore, I want to build something that helps people connect socially and build social networks again, because everything online has become social media, and media is very different to a network. So build social networks again, um, connect, build relationships, build sort of communities. I think we lost touch with the importance of the people around us in the physical world, as opposed to the fucking followers and the people we know online. And yeah, hopefully become one of the go-to platforms for people who want to opt out of the noise and do something else. So that's my thesis-backed approach to building this. And for me, I want to live that as much as possible, which will imply not being, online as much.
Mhm. You mentioned real world maxing, and already in a couple of times in the stories that you've expressed in back in 2006, 2007, you wanted to be the next Warren Buffett or a billionaire. When you were doing your podcast, you wanted to get to 1 million downloads, and now you are maximizing. It seems like you are a very classic high achiever of sorts, but simultaneously you are opting out of a lot of the metrics driven environments that I think are predate upon high achieving people. I think that there are very, very smart people trying to design systems to capture the work of somebody
Yes.
like you. Have you changed, or is the world changing?
I think it's both, man. We're always changing and the world's always changing. I think somewhat you described it really well there. Is these there are smart people and smarter people and ultra smart people, and there's sort of and there's dumb people and retards, and you got the whole spectrum, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sort of to some capacity, to some degree, everyone sort of is a predator or prey in those hierarchies. And yes, I recognize fundamentally that I was very much a something that was feeding a machine that wasn't helping me, that it was helping something else. So I could probably point to something that did shift me quite a bit. Was last year two events happened. One was my wife gave birth to our firstborn son, so that sort
Mm-hmm.
of happened as a first thing. And then around a similar time, like I think it was like a couple weeks later or whatever, it was basically the last time I was on Twitter. Was the whole like Irina, that Ukrainian girl that got stabbed in the neck, online, like that shit blew up, and like I lost my shit. And for like I couldn't sleep for a couple of days. Like I was really shook, and I think I was extra shook because I had just become a father, and I kind of like felt this like weird, like what would I do if something like that? Because she sort of represented this like innocent woman, did nothing and just got shanked. So I was yeah, I kind of had this like come to Jesus moment where I was like, what am I doing here? Why am I engaging with this shit? Like, and especially when I noticed that like a week later, everyone had completely forgotten about it. Like, I was like, fuck this. Like, I'm out. So I just like deleted the apps, logged out, left, and it's been great ever since. So yeah, I think I have changed, but also I can very also recognize that also the world has changed. The
Mm-hmm.
pace just like way faster than it was before. And I don't know what that leads to.
I
So
guess we'll find out.
we will.
But
Yeah.
where are we leading the world to is really what we're exploring today. And I'm curious, you've thought about this problem, you've felt about this problem quite a bit, and this is a poignant moment. When it comes to SatLantis, what do you think are the core pain points and problems that your ideal person for engaging with this app, for becoming with this community, how are they experiencing? I think we've touched on the bigger picture, and like
Mhm,
what are
mhm.
the visceral pain points that they are facing on a day-to-day basis?
There's two fundamentally. So you've got there's one is to do with payments, but I'll talk about that separately. Sort of the first one is this: it's the way people conceptualize events now is more community oriented, right? Because I think people have became so lonely, right? So if that sort of macro driver, so you see sort of there's this renaissance happening in the event space now, which is social wellness clubs, run clubs, entrepreneur retreats, creator sort of retreats, like so these events that are happening, but the events sort of come under a subset of building a community, and that community is about sort of connecting with not just like-minded people but like-valued people, right? So community and event now sort of go hand in hand. Now if you look at the products that are out there, like the two big ones are Eventbrite and meetup.com. Eventbrite is really good for just selling tickets and running a one-off event. there's no sort of community element to it, right? On the flip side, you got meetup.com where you can sort of build a community, but you can't really monetize an event. You can't like turn it into a business. You can't really do anything. It's just for like free meetups for people to gather once in a while. And also meetup.com is just like ultra cringe. Like, so if you want to meet weird people, go on meetup.com. So like, it's so you've got this kind of like gap, and then I would say online there's some pretty good community platforms like Circle or School or stuff like that where you can grow and build and engage a community. And obviously Telegram and WhatsApp allow you to build a community, but these things are like very, very online. So what I'm trying to do for people is kind of give them a platform where they can build a member base, like a community base, and then translate that, like the driver of the community is actually catching up in person, running events, building a beautiful calendar. People can see who's coming, what's going on. They can start to connect with people, all this sort of stuff. So the pain point, I guess, is more like eliminating the friction from having to use 2, 3, 4 different tools to build a community that is event centric, right? So that's on one part. The other part of it is to do with payments. Now, this is not so much a problem in sort of the quote unquote the first world, like America, Canada, Australia, Europe, all this sort of stuff. But it is a problem in most of the rest of the world, which is payments are painful, especially if you are someone like, let's say you're a creator and you're very quickly realizing that knowledge and information products are losing their moat, they're being demonetized thanks to AI. You're trying to think of what else do I sell. Well, what are you selling now? You can sell access, which is another word for like memberships and community. You can sell taste, which is like curation, and you can sell experiences, which is events, right? So how do you do that if you don't have access to Stripe, for example? Or even if you do have access to Stripe and you go and run an event on Eventbrite's going to sting you with 8, 9, 10% in fees, right? So this is where we sort of bring the stablecoin Bitcoin piece in. So we want to make it such that you can build and monetize events and communities anywhere in the world. Doesn't matter who you are, where you are. You can be in fucking Antarctica if you want to, and you can spin up something and build hopefully a business out of it, or build a community out of it, or whatever. So they're sort of the pain points. I think I messed up by going into the solution here, but
That's what smart people do. It's a reflex. But that's what we're here for. We're having
smart
fun.
people with goldfish memory.
Yeah. We all are that. I'm that too. But luckily, I'm in my little lane and I get to play in this little thing. And this is the game that I delight in. And you're doing great. Here's the things that I hear. It's getting more and more difficult to be noticed in a world that's not really optimized for humans anymore. It's optimized for clicks. It's optimized for engagement, retention, numbers that are detached fundamentally from humanity. It takes so many tools and processes to actually create a human connected community, and being able to monetize that, especially outside of the first world, is difficult.
Beautiful. Very well put.
Excellent. Now, the next step is like, what do we think that SatLantis does that not necessarily the result you get, but how you get there is better and faster? I think we've got something about payment processing. I think it's combining the best of both worlds of being able to have a real human-centric community and being able to monetize it. Is there anything else that you would highlight that makes this platform better or different?
I would say it's you kind of touched on it, but basically the fact that it's all there, it's like it's designed specifically for event-centric communities or community-centric events, whichever way you want to look at it. So like the toolkit is in one place. Mm-hmm. So one-stop shop for a cringe way to say it, but like it's purpose built for that. Like I see this emergence of what I'm kind of like calling the experience economy, and that is like people doing things in the real world, whether that includes travel or events or stuff like that. It's just like doing stuff in meat space, and creator platforms to date were much more designed around digital products, social media, clicks, and all this sort of stuff. So I haven't seen a good creator platform for the experience economy.
Amazing. And then moving forward, the outcomes that we would promise and what I would intuit from this is like a community and human connections that I love and is like a sustainable business for me. Like it's hard for me to be in community if I have to worry about paying my bills, and I'm able to feel safe and connected in a way that's actually humanly authentic.
Yep. So I'll use an actual really good example. So there's young guy I know. His name is Akram, and he runs he calls it the International Breakfast Club, and he was trying to do that in Medellin and in Florianopolis,
Mm-hmm.
and he put a lot of effort into that, like getting people together, running these breakfasts and all this sort of stuff, and he needed a way to start generating some sort of revenue so that he could continue improving the communities and the breakfast club and the ongoing meetups, because it takes a lot of work. And he was trying to do it all on Luma, but Luma doesn't have really a community feature. It's very good for organizing, coordinating the events. But then he got sort of stuck. He's like, okay, now I don't know how do I go to people and ask them to pay $50 a month, and where do I need to now get them to sign up somewhere else? What do I do? And he sort of got stuck on that. So he ended up having to drop one of the communities and go back to Medellin and try and focus on that one. So whereas I think he could have done that more intelligently, and if he had the money coming through to be able to pay for it, but he didn't.
Mm-hmm. And so, like creating this structure is meant for him to be able to enjoy that. And I also think that maybe one of the outcomes that's a little less tangential, but or is building a world in alignment with the vision that we think it should be. Like right now, I feel and I sense this as part of my purpose is I think that it's important to have as many creative minds and leaders as possible working to not just make money and to make a good business or even have a nice life for themselves, but to actually actively create a world that's in alignment with what we want it to be like, and real human connections, whether we like AI or don't like AI or whatever the case may be. I think the solution is more human connection. If we like AI and AI is going to work in our favor, then the result is more human connection. If we don't like AI, the thing that we still are going to want and seek is more, the only answer is really more fundamental human connection.
Totally. I think you made a good point there, actually, also, as well as with the relationship to AI. So, a lot of people, when I talk to them about this stuff, they have this sense that I'm some sort of anti AI guy, Luddite, or whatever. And it's not really the case. I actually think it's a positive trend in the sense that for those who choose to be sentient, AI is going to help automate a bunch of things so that I don't have to sit there online and do a bunch of menial crap. Like, I can actually outsource that to something artificial so that me as something organic can go and do stuff back in the real world. I would much rather Mark Zuckerberg's customer base to be a bunch of bots, and then we go out and hang out in the real world. That would be great.
Absolutely. Yeah. The metaverse closed down. Too bad. We could send the robots there. They can have their own. Okay. So I want to take it back to a moment that you shared earlier. And I think this was around the same time, giving birth to a son and then your last time on Twitter, where these moments were very temporally close together, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Your last time on Twitter, where were you physically? You were in an office. It's maybe the office that you're in right now? Where were you?
Yep. Here. Yep.
Describe this room to us.
Small room. It's like a home office with some shelves, two tables, computer, and a screen.
Where does Is there a window? I think there is.
Yes, there is a window. Yes.
What do you
Right.
see out of the window?
Beach.
Beach. Florianopolis has lovely beaches.
It
And it's
does.
a little bit different than the rest of Brazil. One
Mm-hmm.
on a side tangent here. One of the differences in Brazilian people than anywhere else in the world is I think Brazilian people like to be in crowded places where most people either like tolerate it or don't like it. Brazilians want to be in a crowded space. They like crowded beaches versus an empty beach.
It's a strange phenomenon. I went to a sauna actually in Brazil, and I was asking how many people can fit in here, and they're like, "Well, look, normally it's 6 people, but in Brazil it's 12." I was like, "What?" It's like it's a Brazilian thing. I'm like, "You people are crazy."
I think they just like to check each other out.
Yeah.
And so there's
Or
more people to check out.
they're also very warm. I think just by they are some of probably the warmest people in the world. Like they're just like very close, and they're very very warm. It's a very cultural thing.
Yeah. Okay. So is this beach a crowded beach or a relatively empty beach?
This one is empty. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Um, so the last time you were on Twitter, you saw this thing, you got shook. What did you do right after?
I rage posted on Twitter for a while, and then kind of went back and forth between like getting pissed off, turning it off, and then going back and rage posting. Like, yeah, it was kind of like stupidity until I snapped and said, "You know what, this is not going to work." So then I got off completely.
Okay. Now I would like to hear an equally specific time and place. But this is a time where you were surrounded by community in a way that was monetizable. You were surrounded by people and you really felt the ability to build a business and grow from this. And you felt that you were impacting and moving the world in the way that you saw fit.
So a time that actually happened, right?
Yes.
Let me see a useful one. And is this time, am I running the event or the community, or was I a participant? Like any specifics around that?
Either. I think running the event would be better, but or a participant would be okay too.
Okay, because yeah, I mean, I haven't ran events for a long time, so the one that I can think of is a participant to an annual conference that I go to. It's not even a conference; it's called the Satoshi Roundtable, which is basically a gathering of high-profile OG sort of people that have been around the Bitcoin space for a long time, and there's no sort of stages or speakers or any of that sort of stuff. It's like 4 days of pure networking around roundtables, where each roundtable is got a particular topic, and people just get together and talk ideas. Yeah, I try to go to that annually because for me it's an opportunity to discuss and actually build networks and build relationships with people.
Where does it happen?
Dubai.
Describe the room that these roundtables were occurring in.
So the roundtables happen all through the Waldorf Astoria, which is a beautiful 5-star resort, and the roundtables happen, yeah, outside by the pool, on the balcony, here, there. So it kind of like happens all over the venue.
Give me one delightful detail about this resort. What makes, I mean, there's got to be something about Dubai. These are the most over the top people in the world.
Yep.
How do they showcase that at the Waldorf Astoria in Dubai?
So I don't know what to call it, if it's a balcony, but it's like the external area where you have like the two staircases that run up, and it's kind of like I guess it's a balcony of some sort, but it's not like a room balcony, right? It's like of the main area. It's very very beautiful, and it's one of the nice spots to run a round table because people can come have like it's a very nice place to have a discussion.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Great. Okay. Are you ready to hear your story?
Let's do it.
I can remember the last day that I was on Twitter in my office, where I found myself spending too much of my time, especially now with a new son in my home, and finding myself compelled to spend more time with him and spend more quality, and at the same time feeling a demand to compete, to produce, to create in a world that just seemed to demand more and more, and with less and less quality. I'm on Twitter posting for what I would like to tell myself are good business reasons, but it seems to be feeding some kind of strange addiction and feeding into everybody else's. And I see a video of a woman that shook me, somebody being killed, and the outrageous response from so many people. No humanity, just opinions, condemnation, vitriol, spite. All of these people seeming like they knew everything and they had the answer, but nobody really connecting, understanding anything like that. I look out to my window and see an empty beach and wish I was there with my son, but instead I lean in and start rage posting as much as I can, trying to fight against the system that seems unfair, that's not built for me, that's not built for anyone. And it feels like that sand on the beach slipping through my fingers. A week later, everyone had completely forgot about it. And it was from that point that I knew that something different needed to happen. Not just in myself, but in the world that I wanted to create. And so I began to build a different business and a different platform, a different tool. I wanted to create something that made it easy for people to come together in person, in humanity, in community. I wanted it to be a sustainable way to grow a business so that we could enjoy our time together and be present together without constantly having to worry about performing, without constantly having to worry about getting paid. I wanted it to be simple and something that anyone all over the world could use to start to connect better. Now, this took a long time and over the course of a lot of costly and painful mistakes. But this became the foundation for SatLantis. And I can remember a little bit later on at an annual conference called the Satoshi Roundtable, surrounded by high-profile people talking about the Bitcoin, the things that they loved. There was no stages, no high-profile gurus around, just 4 days of people networking and connecting. I remember sitting around this table of people and having great conversations that expanded my mind, that expanded my imagination, surrounded by these incredible staircases and opulent vistas that were in the Waldorf Astoria of Dubai. And sitting there with these people, I realized this is what I'm creating too. This is what I want to make, not just for here in the Bitcoin space, but for everybody. The ability to connect and create and develop communities offline and maximizing for real human connection. And that's what I'm here to share with you today.
Very cool, man. I like it.
Thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you. And I am excited for the future that you are building. Where can we go to learn more about you? And do you have any closing thoughts for us today?
Sure. To learn more about me, I guess, I mean, if they just search my surname Svetsky on Google, they'll find all sorts of stuff. But I guess the only place I'm really publishing anything anymore, if anyone wants to find, is Substack. So Svetsky writes on there. And then if they want to check out, if anyone's running an event, wanting to build a community or doing any of that sort of stuff, like by all means, go check out SatLantis.io, not .com. .com will take you to a satellite company. we we're still doing events on this planet for now. And then my final words. This was great. I love the format of how you put this together, and it's a very unique way to have a discussion and take the things that we wrestled with and turn it into a narrative. I think narrative is fundamentally how all learning happens, right? Like we are storytelling and story consuming creatures. Our whole lives are a story. Everything is a story, and the ability to weave, whether it's an idea, whether it's a concept, whether it's a business, whether it's what you're doing, anything, like to weave it into a narrative form is a great skill. I always used to say, like, the best philosophers were people who could take a philosophy and turn it into a story. That's why I always like Ayn Rand. She was able to take that story and like turn it into something, versus a Mises who could, write a whole 1,000-page book on the theory. But I learned way more from reading Ayn Rand than I ever did from Mises because of the story. So love it, man.
Well, thank you. I feel seen, and it's been an honor seeing you in this process today on the Story Engine podcast.